Welcome back to Better Pet Parents, everybody. Thank you for being here. Today we're going to have an important discussion, and that discussion is be aware of prices. Everybody's heard that saying, you get what you pay for. But I think that this is very, very important to bring this up when it comes to pet care. Sometimes with pet owners, as a professional, I will hear pet owners say that they always want to do the cheapest thing. They always want to do the bare minimum when it comes to their pet's care, which is a huge pet peeve for me. And part of hearing that attitude all the time led me to create Better Pet Parents, because I wanted there to be just more education in the world for clients to hear about various pet care topics, because there is such an overwhelming attitude in the world about everybody wanting to do the bare minimum when it comes to their pet's care, and that really bothered me. But the point is that sometimes with that attitude of wanting to do the bare minimum for our pets and wanting the cheapest thing for them, going out and buying low quality things, low quality products for flea and tick control, low quality food that they eat on a daily basis, etc., etc. You can imagine that if this goes on a continual basis, that your pet is not going to be as healthy as maybe they could be, that they are not going to feel as good as maybe they could be. And I know that sounds obvious, but it really needs to be said, because there are so many pet owners that do have that attitude. And then there are also, pet parents who mean well, that are just trying to stay on a budget. There's nothing wrong with that, and who can't relate to that, right? So I understand that sometimes it's about kind of being negligent and having a bad attitude, but other times it's about not knowing better. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, is just putting this thought in everybody's mind that sometimes, especially when it comes to pet care, low price is not better. Sometimes if you're going to go to the general store and buy the off-brand thing, lowest price thing, I know that I've heard it professionally about there being dangers to some of those products, especially when it comes to flea and tick collars and things of that nature. Just be careful, you guys. Be very careful. Make sure that you're doing research about anything that you are ever administering to your pet. And please be aware that if it's the cheapest thing out there, you might not be able to expect quality results from it. Please be aware that one of the things that you can do for your pet to protect yourself from overwhelming costs throughout their lifetime is to consider pet insurance early on. That does help protect you from unexpected situations, so that if you are somebody that's really trying to live on a budget and provide the best for your pet, that you never have to feel like if a terrible situation arises that you can't provide for them. But also, I just, coming back to the everyday things, it's just very important that we have conversations with our veterinarians about everything that we're giving to our animals, because there are risks involved with the cheapest things out there, especially about what we're feeding them. Please keep in mind that that's what your animal would be eating every day. And, sometimes I like to tell clients that if you're buying the cheapest, most low quality food out there, and they're eating it every meal, every day, that might be like you eating, the 99-cent hot dog for every single meal. Just consider how you would feel if you ingested that at every meal. And, I just want to plant this topic in everybody's mind that cheap all the time, the cheapest of everything, is not going to result in quality, outcomes for our animals. I also want to come back to a topic that is really personal for me, which is pet grooming. You guys know that I'm a professional groomer, and we had a whole episode one time about all the things that the general public does not tend to know about the professional grooming industry. And the number one thing in that conversation was that you do not have to have a license to be a pet groomer. Anybody in the world can go out into the world and say that they're a pet groomer, and the general public does not tend to question that or know the wiser. So while we're on this topic of being leery of low prices of anything that when it comes to our pets' care, keep in mind that if you come across the $35 groom out there and you're like, well, I'm on a budget, I want to do the cheapest thing for my pet because my pet needs a haircut, and that person's offering it for $35 while the other girl down the street said she'll charge me $100. Be aware, you guys, that that's for a reason. That's because the person that's charging $100 is likely a professional who's truly running a legitimate business and has the experience to provide a quality and safe result. And then the other person is the local town bargain groomer that you can absolutely not trust will have the safety of your pet at hand. And, you might get lucky, but you might not. And at the end of the day, if something terrible happens, be aware of this, you guys. Low prices out there on the products that we buy for our pets, the services that we buy for our pets. Just be aware that that old saying about you get what you pay for can really apply to pet care. I do want to point out that everybody does have to have a license to be a veterinarian. We pointed this out in that same episode that I was referring to earlier. You can always kind of have a level of expectation about care when you go to a veterinary clinic because they do have to be licensed to be a medical doctor. But the same is not true for the pet grooming industry. Be aware of this, you guys. If you want to learn more about that, then just go back on our channel and find the episode that we did about I think it was called Approaching Relationships with Groomers. We went into a ton of detail in that episode about all the things that the general public does not know about that industry. But pertaining to cost, that's just one of the things that really comes to mind, and I wanted to bring it up again today. If you have any questions at all on this topic, let us know. Let us know your comments. Make sure that you are discussing with your veterinarian the best things for your budget that will provide the best outcomes for your pet in terms of anything that you're administering to them and anything that you're feeding them. And just get to that happy medium, where you guys can talk together about what would be an ideal solution for your pet's care. Be leery about the services that you buy for your pets. Be leery about professional services like pet sitting and dog walkers and that kind of thing. Nobody has to have a license to do that either. And you never know if you're just inviting somebody into your home to provide daily care to your animal while you're at work or something of that nature. And this is just somebody who has no idea what they're doing. Of course, there are reputable pet sitters and pet care professionals out there. Of course, there are. The difference is, being able to compare those who are professionals against those who are not. And this is just unfortunately an industry where there can be a lot of that going on, and the general public doesn't always know to question it. So please be aware that working professionally with animals is a skill, and it absolutely is a real job. Don't just hire anybody to do work for your pets. Make sure that when you have anything done for them, that you're truly having their best interest at heart, and that you are researching what you're giving them, who's doing the services for them. Make sure that when you pick a veterinarian that you're picking one that has a good reputation in the community, that you're finding one that's a good fit for your family, and that you're doing the same for anybody else that provides professional services to your animals. Be careful out there, you guys, and keep this saying in mind that you get what you pay for. And it's just very important to keep in mind that you do your research on cost. If you do see a bargain out there that sounds too good to be true, remember that it might be. Be careful out there. Happy pet parenting, everybody. Let us know your thoughts, and we'll see you again next week.